We have a new sponsor and an old friend joining Envy Pillow here, Sierra Sil. With 2 rare patents and a money-back guarantee, Sierra Sil, available at Shoppers Drug Mart, London Drugs and Health Food stores, is the natural mineral joint pain remedy you need. Go to sierrasil.com, SIERRASIL.com, and use the code GF for 10% off. I'm Erin Davis. Hello.
Hi, I'm Lisa Brandt. This is Gracefully and Frankly, episode 27.
Hey, guess what? I got a new title for who we are. We're not seniors. We're not middle-aged unless we live to 120. We are queenagers. Do you like that?
Oh, I love that. I love it.
All right, that's it.
Queenagers.
Queenagers.
Perfection. Queenagers.
Well, if you think you're a senior, just put yourself ahead 20 years and think of how much you would like to be 60 again. So,
right.
It's just all perspective.
Absolutely.
We say 27 is great because that's what this episode is. And oh boy, do we get into it about fillers and Botox and yes, plastic surgeons.
Making us look like we're bloated old sturgeons.
No,
that's not. No, not at all.
Boobs that are boosted with silicone bags. These are the ways that we don't become hags. Oh my God.
What more do we need?
We're Randy Rainbow, the two of us. We can do this. It's a cross between Randy Rainbow and Menopause Out Loud. Menopause Off Key. That's what we'll call it. Menopause Off Key.
We're also going to talk about the perils of living on an island, the stuff you have to put up with, Erin Davis.
Oh, and that's not talking about my sister's visit, although and I just sold something from right underneath her. I'll tell you about that too.
Good.
And the most delicious, not prescription, but suggestion that was sent Lisa's way. And honestly, if we can help with anything, we will. It's like an envy pillow for your tummy.
We had our annual family reunion / concert / potluck a couple of weeks ago. 2 of my husband's cousins came up and said, okay, look, I've asked my husband for an envy pillow. Which one do I get?
Woo!
They're both awaiting envy pillows. And you know that each pillow is sustainably made. It doesn't matter which one you get, has that unique envy shape that supports your neck. You can get one with copper for its germ-killing properties, which I recommended, or you can go without copper if you want. So my advice to them was just take a few minutes at envypillow.com, read about copper technology. It even helps prevent the spread of COVID-19 and so many other viruses and bacteria. And what's more important than your health and your sleep and your face? I suggested it's worth investing just a little time to get an education on these wonderful pillows and to tell their husbands, their gift givers, that when they're ready to check out, no matter what they're buying at envypillow.com, use the promo code GF and get 10% off your purchase. So I'm looking forward to the reviews when these cousins start using their envy pillows.
Yeah, and I like pro-aging. I know that they're all about anti-aging, but we're pro-aging. Or am I not? Oh, we're going to get into that. Coming up. Here we go.
I have a wonderful woman who looks after my skin. I don't leave it with her. I bring my whole face. But I'm going to give her a shout out just for kicks. Her name is Rachel and her clinic is called White Feather. And she posts really great stuff about looking after your skin. I feel like she's yelling at me sometimes in a nice way, going, don't pick at that. But she put one out the other day about ditching the magnifying mirror. And it occurred to me, she's in her 30s. Her skin looks like it's magnificent, and she's made mine a lot better. But I thought, no, honey, I need that magnifying mirror. Right at our age, we kind of need to see because our eyesight isn't as good.
That's right. And I have one that is lighted. It has 3 settings for lighting. Is it lighted or lit? I know it's both, but whatever. And I couldn't be without it. I travel with it. It has little batteries, and it's a pain. But I've got to have it because the last thing you want to be doing is sitting on a flight or in the car and you've got your fingers on your chin and you go, oh my God. And you think you're that witch from the Bugs Bunny, Hansel and Gretel cartoon and you got this great big thing off of your chin. It's never as bad as it feels, but you feel like you can hang a coat on it.
And you never know, like you have light hair, but
Yeah.
you never know if it's a dark one or a gray one. And that's the other thing when you have dark hair.
I know. So what is she talking about? Is it because we're not supposed to see the imperfections in ourselves? Is that why we're supposed to ditch the magnifying mirror?
Well, she says that those little imperfections that we see become a big deal to us, but other people don't even notice them. We fixate on them or focus on them, or even worse, pick at them and make them worse. So that's her thing, is like, you know what? If your skin is healthy and you're hydrated and you're feeling good, just don't even look at that stuff. Everybody's got little things with their skin. The only perfect skin I've ever seen is actually in person is on Trisha Yearwood, the country singer. Her skin is incredible. But just about anybody else you see that looks perfect has had makeup put on. They've got fillers in their pores or whatever. I mean, perfection in anything is basically unattainable. So I think that's her point.
It brings me to a topic you've wanted to discuss for so long, and that's about fillers and aging and everything that women do, men do too, in order to keep themselves either to a beauty standard or to where they want to be. And you and I come at this, we talk gracefully and frankly, and we thought we were going to have more things we disagreed on. And I think this may be the thing we disagree on. So buckle in, friends. Here we go.
Well, here's the thing. I don't care what anybody else does with their face. I really don't. It's yours to do whatever with. I would love to have Botox between my eyes because I have an 11 there. I think it makes me look serious when I'm not. But my husband, he's not the ruler of my face, but it scares him, and he's asked me not to, so I don't do it. But Justine Bateman, the actress who used to be in Family Ties, is a big proponent of leaving your face alone. She's got a book out called 1 Square Foot of Skin, and she is evangelical about it. I'm not. The only person I would really have an opinion on is Nicole Kidman, and it's only because of her job. You know, her face doesn't move, so don't tell me she did a good job playing Lucille Ball. She did not. Lucille Ball had a rubber face. Nicole Kidman's mouth moved, and that was it. So that's when I have a problem. Like, don't be an actress. I mean, your face has to move, and her face doesn't move. But for the rest of it, fill your boots.
Oh, no, my boots were the only part that didn't need filler. Thanks a lot, Lisa. Well, I'll tell you, I come at this from a completely different angle. And that is one where I, very early on, back in my radio career, was slammed very publicly by Spike Gallagher on Q107 at the time, you know, one of the bro stations,
Right,
for looking like someone who had a face that they called stone face. And he was obviously making fun of my profile, my face, my whatever. But he said this, and then Gary Dunford, who was a Page Six columnist in The Sun, printed the insult against me. And then they got the hockey player's name wrong. So Gary Dunford printed it again with not an apology to me, but a correction on who the hockey player was. So I wouldn't have seen any of this because I was away on vacation. But my program director at the time, who was a complete weasel, he brought it to my attention.
Oh, of course.
So it was just pylon. It's the impossible. You're on the radio, but you're supposed to be TV pretty. And on occasion, as our careers went on, yours and mine, video became so much more a part of this. And you know me, I have always, made a point of having a little makeup on. So after that comment, it hit me very hard. I realized I was overweight, and I'd had a baby a short time earlier. And then I went and started, looking into, okay, what can I do? So I got my bridge of my mouth widened. I got, veneers on my teeth to widen my smile. And eventually I had my chin reduced, which is a fun thing. They cut the jawbone on both sides at the bottom of your mouth and then take pieces out and then sort of tie them back together. So when dentists do x-rays, they see these twists and they go, okay, what's going on there?
Wow.
So I had that done. And then as I got a little older, I thought, okay, I'm turning 45 and I wanted to sort of get ahead of my face aging. And remember, I was drinking at this time, so I wasn't helping my face in the whole aging process because you know what it does under your eyes, and it kills your skin, and you get the gin blossoms, the red capillary explosions on your face. So I went and had a partial facelift, and I felt that it went well. It was the jaw surgery, believe it or not, done by a guy who does corrective surgery for a reason, that kind of screwed up because now my smile is crooked. So the partial facelift worked. I got the jaw fixed. And since then, it's just been a little bit of filler along the jawline so that there's not a whole lot of sagging, and a little bit of Botox around the eyes. Because like you, I have resting bitch face. I look like I'm mad when I'm concentrating.
Yeah.
And it was when people would take pictures of us on jobs or doing the radio show. And when I'm thinking, I look angry. And I'm not. I'm just thinking.
Right. Yeah, I get that. First off, I look back at pictures of you around that time, around 2003 or wherever, and I see you had a rounder face,
Mm-hmm.
and I just think you were adorable.
Oh,
I don't think you're not adorable now, but I look back and I think, yeah, we used to go to the gym together and do all that kind of stuff, and I just thought you were adorable. Some of those guys just had no clue that they're jealousy and sexism because you're a woman in broadcasting making more money than them because you earned it, and they were just mean. They didn't know another way to behave. It's almost like when I'm on an airplane, I see a toddler crying, I think, they don't know another way to behave. Although I'm certainly not as tolerant of guys who behave that way on radio.
yeah.
And I'm sorry it affected you so much. That's just awful that Dunford did that.
Yeah, Dunford and Gallagher. And where are they both now?
Ugh.
It's my crap to deal with, right? It's the stoicism that says, okay, that happened. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, but be kind to yourself because, it feels like you're in a petri dish anyway.
Mhm.
When you're as popular as you were on that show, and we used to go to Casino Rama and see shows and go to the spa and stuff, and I'd start counting, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi until the first person came up and went, Aaron Davis, which was great. I mean, it was fun, but you're very well known. I get it, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And I sound like poor me.
No.
People said, well, you're in the public eye. You should have thicker skin. Who says that because you do a job that puts your heart and soul out to the public, that all of a sudden it's game on, that you're the buck in deer season? Why?
Yeah. And, I've seen a lot of younger people in media, radio, but especially in TV, leave the industry because of the way people launch barbs at them, So I want to tell you a little story. I went to a dermatologist, I guess I was in my 40s. I suddenly developed acne.
Oh, isn't that fun?
And he said, I can do something about those bunny lines. And I said, what are bunny lines? He goes, scrunch your face. And then he came over with a marker and drew on these lines on my nose and said, you're starting a little bit late, but if we start now, I can take care of those bunny lines and those wrinkles that are starting around your mouth. So I threw my head back and laughed because I said, I came to you for acne. Oh, okay, you've come here because you got a boil on your cheek, but I'll also give you injections or whatever. Like, it's not just dermatology anymore. Anyway, I walked out of there with my acne cream thinking if I had less self-esteem or cared more about what he said, I would be crushed right now. Like, that was horrible to reach out that way on a topic that I said nothing about. I never mentioned a wrinkle, a line, my age, nothing. I thought was just horrible. And I think stuff like that is probably happening too. Not that, again, I don't judge anybody for getting fillers or whatever it is you want to have done, except Nicole Kidman. She's the only one.
Well, you will tell me as my friend, right? Rob does too. You talk about Derek not being the gatekeeper of your face. Rob will always caution me. And he will say, please don't do this, or don't even think about another facelift. And you know what I did? Last year, feeling really bad about myself and everything before I decided to tackle things that I needed to tackle, I booked an appointment with a plastic surgeon in Victoria, and they said, okay, it's going to be a several-month wait. So I went to her 2 months ago, and she was young and beautiful, and she looked at me and she said, I wouldn't do a thing to this face. I wouldn't do a thing.
There you go.
And I just walked out and I said to the receptionist, she says I'm perfect. Bye.
I love it. But Derek will comment on how good somebody looks, for example, on TV. And I'll say, look at that forehead. It doesn't move. That's because she has Botox.
Right.
And that's what I want, right? And so it's easy to comment and say somebody looks great, but when it comes to me, and again, I'm long over wanting to get this done. I'm over 60 now. I don't care. But I will say to him, you want to see how a person ages naturally? Just watch me. And he's like, good. This is something he finds important. And luckily I fall in with that too. The only thing I wanted was the Botox because I did have it before.
Mm-hmm.
Different husband who cared less.
Lisa, I talk about having to wait a year to see a plastic surgeon, even for a consult. And that's a good thing. And in coming episodes, we will talk about surgery south of the collarbone, too, if anybody wants to get into that and the whole screwed up reasoning for why I did that and how everything went wrong and literally sideways. But that's for another podcast as we talk, hopefully, gracefully and frankly. And by the way, as always, we will tell you, please post your comments and your feedback at our Gracefully and Frankly Facebook page. We love the conversation there. But boy, did I do something stupid this week.
Yay! What'd you do?
Okay, so several months ago, remember when we took poor Colin to that Leafs-Canucks game back in early March?
Yeah.
Well, when we were on the mainland, because we live on Vancouver Island, we went into an outdoor furniture store and decided we were going to get new furniture for the deck. I wanted to do some price comparing, so I came home, took a couple months, couldn't find anything I liked better or at a better price. So when we went back last month to visit my dad in Kelowna, we stopped in, made the purchase, and just the other day heard, okay, it's coming sometime this week.
Oh.
So what do? I post on used.ca this ad for our white wicker furniture. It's all very modern, but the seating, the pads they were turquoise and now they're sky blue. The sun out here has faded them. They weren't sunbrella. They just faded like crazy. You will love the ad I wrote. I said, this sweet is like your favorite pair of jeans, faded, a little worn, but still so much love and comfort to give. And so wouldn't you know it, I sold the set the exact same day. And 2 days later, my sister arrived with her grandson and there was no deck furniture.
Oh, no.
What a maroon. I didn't think it was going to sell that fast. Oh,
well, that's the thing. Who would have thought that? But it's your clever writing.
Thank you.
Nice going.
My muse is Terry O'Reilly, the great ad writer who has his own podcast called Under the Influence. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, me too.
So that furniture's gone, but I was bracing myself for haggling because we all know when you list something online, the a-hole ratio is so high, right? But this guy with, as Dennis Miller once put it, had so many piercings that he looked like he'd fallen down the stairs carrying a tackle box. He had piercings, tattoos. She was in kind of a halter top and little short shorts. They were so totally island hippie cool. And they came with their big Jeep truck and they bought it, the whole thing, and even the little rug that we had out there. And she gave me some great advice for Dottie and her anxiety. So all in all, it couldn't have been a more pleasurable experience. So yay.
You must have priced it right so that the purchaser knew they were getting enough of a deal that they acted right away. And when I put something up for sale, I usually put in a haggle buffer, however much I'm willing to come down, because I know, like, besides the people that will say, oh, I want it for $5.
Right.
One time I was selling a motorcycle and the guy's like, you don't know what you're doing. That's only worth, $50 or whatever. And it was thousands. And these guys who try and do this kind of thing, but I usually build in a haggle buffer. But I was reading this story about haggling and people are doing it in retail stores now.
What?
Because of, the Wall Street Journal says that people are, like, for example, mattresses. They're going into a department store and saying, you want $1,600 for this? I'll give you $1,250 or whatever. And sometimes it's helping.
Wow.
Can you believe it?
No,
I wouldn't have the guts.
Well, maybe it's the car sort of a model, where you walk into a car dealership and if you can find the car that you want these days, and it's got a sticker price. Like some of them say no dicker sticker. Somehow sounds really dirty. But anyway, they say, you know, this is our price. This is our bottom price. Or you always have the, well, I'm going to have to go speak to my manager. That is, that's like the oldest line in the book. He or she knows what the bottom line is on that car and how much leeway they have.
Yeah.
Or am I wrong about that?
No, you're right, because Derek used to sell cars years ago, and no, you're right. I mean, they know how much leeway. Sometimes they do go to the manager, but it's usually just to say, you know, how's the kids? What you doing on the weekend? I don't think they really go in and present them with anything.
Right. So dickering over a mattress, again, that sounds so dirty. But I couldn't do that. I hate doing it even in a market. You and I have been in countries where marketplaces, they will price it like 10 times what they expect to get. I can't do it because I see it as disrespectful. And I often think they see this rich white woman, which I am one of the two, certainly not rich, and she's going to try and get this money from me. And I always think, you got a family to feed. This $10 means so much more to you than it does to me. But I don't want to feel like a mook who got sucked into paying $10 for a $1.50 hairband, you know?
Yeah. I'll never forget being in France and going into this amazing furniture and tchotchke and decor store right on the water. And it was near Nice. And going in and buying this beautiful set of salt and pepper shakers, lovingly wrapping them up and bringing them home and put them in shoes so they wouldn't get wrecked, and taking them out like they were some sort of Hope Diamond.
Yeah.
And then a couple weeks later, popping into a dollar store here and seeing them.
Oh, no.
So you know, I mean, oh, yeah. So you cannot tell mine came from France. They look like dollar store. Little, but I like them. But so I know what you mean about being a mark for sure.
Describe them to me. I know I've seen them.
They're ghosts, little black and white ghosts that hug each other.
Oh, yeah.
With the salt and pepper in them, and they had the same thing at the dollar store.
Yeah,
so.
I've got those sitting outside in my yard. No, I'm kidding.
In fact, it just occurred to me, maybe I was in a French dollar store and I didn't realize it.
The Arbudo, the Euro tree. Oh, jeez. You and I have both talked about discount websites, and I have gotten a couple of really great deals on Poshmark. But you're not so much a fan of Poshmark anymore. Sometimes the online shopping can get just too much for you.
Well, I look for a couple things here and there. I did buy Pandora charm that never arrived, and they gave me my money back, and they compensated the seller, which was great. So I decided to sell something. I put a bolero jacket that I've never worn, doesn't suit me at all, online, and I was just overwhelmed with the number of people who started following me. Like within minutes, I had 200 and something followers, and I just felt like I was getting notifications after notification. I had to go through them because none of them had anything to do with my listing. Nobody was touching it. People sharing the listing, people doing all this stuff, but nobody ever bidding on it or asking me anything about it. So I let it go for a couple of weeks, and it was just so overwhelming that I took my bolero and ran away. And I talked to a couple other people. I put something on Twitter, and several people said, yeah, it's just, you feel like suddenly you're prey. But now I know they just probably want to connect because they want to build their profile and do all that kind of thing, which is great. But it was just such an onslaught, and it happened so fast. I just thought, ain't nobody got time for that, and left. But you've done well with them.
Just buying. I haven't sold anything. I have piles and piles and piles of clothes that I am going to take to a thrift store that they are accepting clothes in August, I think, for the fall. And these are some label things that I wore to events, and I don't have that life anymore. But I don't want to just give them away because I want to make some money to give to a friend's GoFundMe, to our mutual friend Taylor Kay, whose husband Greg last September suffered a catastrophic stroke. And every bit of money is helping their family to get him home, even occasionally. So that's kind of my push going forward. Yeah. But I would like to sell them, so I'm going to try that. But it's the fear of going in and having somebody look up and down your clothes and just say, no, not good enough.
Well, number one, that's not going to happen with your clothes, but I have had that happen to me where they've gone, I don't think so, and handed me back something. And it does feel kind of icky, but you'll live.
Okay, I'll try. Poor snowflake. Oh my God. If this is the worst problem that you and I face in our lives, and it's not, we got lots of them. And someday we'll tell you about a few more of them. But, everybody's got their problems. So one more thing to tell you about that is life living on an island.
Okay.
You've experienced this, trying to get off the bloody island. Sometimes it's easier on Survivor just because of airlines that don't do direct flights and all of that. But never has it been put under the microscope as much as it has the past week. We often do ferries, right? There's ferries to and from Swassen, which is the nearest ferry terminal to Vancouver, back and forth to Swartz Bay, which is the nearest to Victoria. Well, last Friday of the long weekend, didn't one of the ferries, Coastal Celebration, broke down and they had to take it out of the run. So there were all kinds of sailings canceled.
Oh.
And the wait for ferries was like 6 hours. And it is hot here right now by island standards, mid-upper 20s and sunny. And people were baking in the sun, waiting for their ferry. And on Monday of the long weekend, the wait was a full 24 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. If you didn't have your reservation booked to get off this island, you weren't getting off. Can you imagine?
No, I can't imagine. Is it tourists or what's the deal?
I have to think it's tourists or just procrastinators or the island let it be vibe, oh, we'll get on, let's just go.
Oh, right.
Because they haven't bothered making a reservation. The reservation costs an extra, let's say $15 or something. But for your peace of mind, it is worth everything. My poor sister was booked on the Coastal Celebration. She and her grandson and daughter got here fine, which is great because, we have reservations to stay at places and do things. And everything goes wrong if you don't get on that boat.
Right. When we went to Newfoundland last year, we were told to book way ahead as tourists because so much commerce goes. I mean, I'd stopped counting at like 50 tractor trailers on the ferry. It was crazy. So much is done that way that you've got to make sure you get your berth. But Newfoundland's ferry and your ferry, vastly different things. I would take for granted that I'd be able to get on.
And here we have such trouble with staffing. BC ferries can't staff enough people to sail and work and man the ships and woman them. So there are ferries and runs being canceled because here's the problem. It's so expensive to live in the areas surrounding Victoria and Vancouver. Workers can't afford to live near here.
That is exactly what's happening here. Remember when you were here and the restaurant we liked the best, the Kettle Creek Inn, was shut down because of trying to find people who can also afford to live here. Now that restaurant's open again, but we're still hearing that this is a problem. So rents have gone up all over the place. And if you're on a, lower end salary, it's got to be really tough unless you have family you can bunk with or something.
Yep. Hey, let's end this on a positive note.
Let's.
Because last week you were prescribed ice cream. First off, how do I get this, doctor? Why? And what did you end up with?
Well, he's not a doctor, and maybe that's the key. He's my therapist. He is an amazing man. When I was leaving radio, I thought, I'm going to use everything I have at Bell right now. And I had an employee assistance program. So I went for some counseling, and this was the guy I saw. And so a couple years later, I reconnected with him. I never go away from this guy without having some sort of nugget I can apply to my life or something. He's so in the moment. He's so decent. The sort of theme of the last session I had was that Lisa's not being kind to herself. So he said, I need you to be kind to yourself. And he said, I think an ice cream cone will do that. Why don't you start with an ice cream cone? I went, really? And
I love you.
Exactly.
Oh.
And so we went to Licks. I mean, most people in our area would go to Shaw's because it has been around forever and it's the legendary place to go outside Port Stanley. But there's an amazing place. Actually, there are two in town. One's called Broderick's and one newer one called Licks, where they do things like they make a milkshake and you'll get a piece of cheesecake on top, or there's all these crazy things. So we just went for simple cones
I saw unicorn toot up on the flavors.
There were unicorn toots. I think what I got, bear claw, that's what I got. So it was chocolate with bits of dark chocolate and a ribbon of caramel, and it was incredible. All of these places have sugar-free and all those other things. I was like, no, that's not what he said.
Mm-mm.
He said, get an ice cream cone.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard an echo of waffle cone, waffle cone, waffle cone. So I went with that as well.
Good for you. And how did you feel as you were eating it?
Amazing.
Good.
When he told me to get it, he said, forget about the guilt you'll feel after. I felt no guilt. I felt fantastic.
A perfect summer prescription. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Thank you, Damien.
I really got to get this guy's number. Well, you have a great weekend, and I can't wait to talk to you next week for, gosh, this will be episode 28 next week.
Yes, I think so. Like our ages.
Exactly. That's why we're queen-agers. All right.
Great to talk to you. Thanks again, Dan V. Pillow. Have a great one. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.